Alright, I want to test one more thing with my AI agent swarm. I want to make two Claude Code AI agents do ping-pong pair programming together. Hello, my name is David, and for almost 2 decades now I've been working as an independent software developer and architect, and also as a trainer for modern software engineering and as a technical agile coach. If you want to know more about that, contact me, I'll tell you more about that in the end of the video. But now let's continue to do some AI coding. So I have two agents here and I've already told them who they are and how they can work together. If you want to know how I did that, you can watch that in my last video, which I will link in the description below. And now I want them to do pair programming. So I'll tell them what to do and then we'll see whether they can do it. I want you to work together with Bob on a program that prints out all prime factors for a given number. I want you to do ping-pong pair programming. When Bob is finished with the task, there should be a single failing test and maybe several green tests. Write the smallest amount of production code that will make the test pass. When it passes, commit. Then refactor the code, if necessary, using the transformation priority premise. When all tests pass, commit again and tell Bob it's their turn. Now this is a pretty big shot, and let's see if it works out. What I expect now is that Alice here understands everything I told it and that it not starts programming yet. Okay, Alice already wants to start, but we didn't tell Bob yet what his role is, which will be exactly the same instructions, just with the names changed. So, do not start yet, wait for my go. Now I'm going to give Bob exactly the same instructions and then we can watch them. But also one more thing I want Alice to do. Before you pass on the role to Bob, let me always review the code. Okay, now I'm going to give the same instructions to Bob and then I'm going to be here again after a cut. Now both have the same instructions, just that Bob doesn't wait for my go, it waits for Alice to start. And now let's tell Alice to actually start. Create the Python program with a single failing test. It should be the smallest possible test that brings us closer to our goal. Yeah, this is not the worst test. All right, we have a failing test, and it tests that 1 doesn't have any prime factors. So Alice should now tell Bob that it's their turn. Okay, Bob is finished. It implemented a simple returning an empty array, which is a great implementation for this test because it only makes this test pass and doesn't add more functionality than needed. And now it's ready to send Alice that it's their turn. So for now, I'm quite happy with the result. Oh no, I did describe ping-pong pair programming incorrectly. Now that can happen. And the problem here is that Bob didn't write a failing test after telling Alice. So let me quickly fix that, restart both agents, delete all the code, and then I'll see you again here. Now the instructions to Alice read: I want you to work together with Bob on a program that prints all prime factors for a given number. I want you to do ping-pong pair programming, which means when Bob finishes a task, there should be a single failing test and maybe several green tests. Write the smallest amount of production code that will make the test pass. When it passes, commit. Then refactor the code if necessary, using the transformation priority premise. When all tests pass, commit again. Let me review the code. Write the smallest possible failing test that brings you closer to the overall goal. Tell Bob it's their turn. Do not start yet, wait for my go. Okay, there were a few errors in the message above, but Alice understood me, so let's give similar instructions to Bob and just tell it that it should wait for Alice and not me. And it too understood me, so let's restart the process again. And let's only view the code while we do so. Write the simplest possible failing test that brings us closer to our goal of implementing the program in Python. Then tell Bob it's their turn. So Alice wrote a failing test, which again asserts that 1 doesn't have any prime factors. but it doesn't fail because of that. It fails because of a Python error, which means that the failing test is not finished, but it wants to hand over to Bob anyway, and Bob can as well correct this problem too. So that's not a big problem, but that's not where a human should do the handover. Now it's Bob's turn to fix the failing test. Let's see if he can do it. Oh, Alice did commit the file, which is not correct. And our instructions did not say that it should commit after a failing test. But it also didn't forbid it, so that's one point where we could improve the instructions. Bob did not verify that the test was failing and that it was failing for the correct reason, but it wants to add an implementation, which is the correct implementation here again, because it's not over-specifying the behavior, so let's just allow it to do it. No refactoring needed. The code is minimal, which is probably correct here. So it now lets me review the changes. No, it wants to run the test. Oh, it did not let me review the changes, which is, if you look at the instructions again, violating its instructions. So are the instructions already getting too big? Or should I be even more unambiguous here? I don't know. But let's proceed with that, and maybe in a later video we can explore how we can improve the instructions. So we have another failing test, which checks that the prime factors of 2 is a list which only includes 2, which is also the next test that I would have written. So let's proceed here. And Alice made the test pass with, again, the simplest code that could possibly work, so it still doesn't overspecify anything. It even made sure that it follows the transformation priority premise, and it asks me to review the code. So Alice right now did exactly what we asked for. So we tell her, looks good to me. Proceed. It again commits the failing test, which is not good, but let me just let Alice proceed here. I don't want to fix this right now in this session. So Bob now got a failing test that fails because the number of prime factors for 3 is not correctly calculated from the code. It adds another if, which is probably still an okay implementation, and it also didn't refactor anything yet, so right now that's okay. Tests pass, it commits, and now I would love to get the chance to review the code if it's refactoring, and it doesn't let me review the code, and it thinks no refactoring is necessary because generalization would be premature. Okay, the next test is an interesting one because it's the first test where we have 2 entries in the result list, and it tells Alice to proceed. Don't know if you saw it, but also Bob committed the failing test, so that's a problem that both of them have. Okay, and here's where Alice didn't do TDD anymore. It even says that all tests pass. I went ahead and implemented a general algorithm using nested loops instead of adding another conditional. This handles all cases, including composite numbers. Let me commit. So it jumped from a failing test and an if-else structure into the final implementation, which is not what we would do in TDD. This is not triangulation. And I also think that this might already be the complete algorithm. So let's check if it even can create another failing test here. You can proceed. Is the program already complete, or can you write another failing test? All right, it thinks that it's complete, but it writes another test anyway to check that it's really complete. So let's declare it complete. Why not? And it wants to send Bob a message that they are finished, which is an interesting idea, and I hope that Bob can handle this message. And Bob verifies again that the final state is actually really complete, so it reviews the work of Alice, which is probably a good idea because Bob has a different context, so it might come to a different conclusion. And now they're patting themselves on the back for a job that was, not bad, but also not really how humans should do ping-pong pair programming. But it seems like they've finished what they should have done. So let's also allow Bob to send this last message to Alice. And I hope now that Alice will stop now chatting with Bob and stop wasting my precious tokens. Oh yeah, and Alice is also trying to flatter me by saying, it was fun collaborating with you on this kata. Nice. Okay, so should we try to verify the program ourselves? Oh, there is no main method that takes the number as an argument and prints the prime factors. So let's ask just Bob to do this. Please add a main method that takes the number as a command line argument and prints the result. Okay, maybe let's verify that it really looks good. Yes, 4 gives us 2, 2. And maybe let's try a more complicated one, something like 2 times 3 times 3 times 7 times 11 times 11. 15,246. The program works. The workflow was, well, I was a little bit disappointed that even for like 5 simple instructions, both agents ignored some of the instructions. Alice was maybe slightly better at the ping-pong pairing stuff, but also not really good. They implemented a program that works, but also one where there's tons of information about how to do that on the internet. So probably even this ping-pong style was in the training data, or we don't know that. So it leaves me a little bit inconclusive. Some of the stuff we saw was impressive. Some of the stuff was disappointing, like forgetting instructions, and for some stuff we don't know whether it was impressive or not. But then on the other hand, this was a fun thing to try. And because of that, I want to stop this video here. My name is David. As I've said, I'm a trainer for Agile Engineering or Modern Software Engineering and also a Technical Agile coach. And if you want to know more about that, then just send me an email or write me a direct message and we can have a very short chat about what that means and how I might be able to help you or your team. And I hope to see you next time with another video where I try something out or where I talk about software development. And until then, happy coding.